Before we dive into today's conversation, I have an exciting reminder for all my fellow designers and decorators. If you're ready to take your interior design business to the next level in 2025, the Profit Academy for Interior Designers is open and ready when you are. This 6-week online course is designed to help you increase your profits, take control of your business, and charge what you are truly worth. The best part? You can do it at your own pace. So whether you need it to fit into your busy schedule or you're ready to dive in and start making changes today, the Profit Academy is ready for you. With the Profit Academy, you will get a step-by-step roadmap to running a profitable design business, proven price strategies to increase confidently and profitably charge for your time and your designs, templates, worksheets, real-world tools to streamline your workflow, and the flexibility to complete the course on your schedule, because your business should work for you and not the other way around. If you're ready to get started, head to the link in the show notes, and in just 6 weeks, you could be running a more profitable and efficient design business. Now, let's get ready to talk to today's incredible guest. Hi there, interior design lovers. Welcome back to the Business of Beautiful Spaces, the podcast where we blend design inspiration with all behind-the-scenes tips and tricks you need to thrive in your business. I'm your host, Laura Thornton, and with over 27 years in this interior design game and running a 7-figure design company, trust me, I've seen it all. I want to be your interior design bestie. I want to help you build the business of your dreams, make more money, and yes, ditch the stress along the way. I've been doing this for a long time, and now I'm sharing my knowledge with all of you, my fellow designers and decorators. All I ask in return is that you like, review, and follow this podcast wherever you listen so other designers can find us and learn more too. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into making 2025 your best business year yet. In today's episode, we're diving into a topic that so many designers and decorators wrestle with: how to get help without the pressure of hiring full-time staff. And I am joined today by Ronniesha Rivera, the founder of Vetted by Design, who specializes in helping creatives streamline their business with the support of skilled virtual assistants. So we're going to explore how VAs can become powerful extensions of your team, allowing you to delegate with confidence, reclaim your time, and finally loosen up the grip on those tasks that you just don't need to do yourself. And whether you're overwhelmed by admin, struggling with social media, or simply looking to grow without burnout, Ronniesha shares practical tips and real talk on how to make a virtual assistant or support work for your business. So sit back, grab a coffee. Here we go. Before we dive in, I am so excited to share a special invitation with all of you that on May 13th, 2025, from 9:30 until 12, we are teaming up with the incredible team at Decorest for a fabulous Designers Day at their showroom and their factory located in Woodbridge, Ontario, and you're invited. So we are going to kick things off by connecting with fellow designers over delicious continental breakfast. Yes, the coffee and all the yummies are included, followed by a special presentation from yours truly, Laura Thornton, where I am going to bring you information on strategies for building a profitable interior design business, because you know I am all about helping you turn your creativity into revenue. So then we're going to be inspired as the Decorest team gives us a peek into all the latest trends straight from High Point and the Milan furniture market. Think exclusive insights that you will not find anywhere else because they will have just returned from doing both of those shows. And you'll also get an exclusive tour of their plant and their showroom so you can see firsthand the craftsmanship that Adelia and I talk about today, and that goes into each and every piece of furniture they make. And to top it all off, because Decorest is so generous, there are prizes and a little post-event social time to connect, chat, and celebrate the amazing design community that we are all a part of. So here's the deal. Seats are limited, and trust me, the Mazzilli family at Decorest goes all out for these events, and they plan everything based on the RSVP count. So if you sign up, please, please, please show up. They truly put their hearts into these gatherings, and it would be absolutely lovely to see all of you there. So please come for the breakfast, stay for the inspo, and leave with ideas and maybe even a prize that you could take your business to the next level. So I really hope that we get to see you in Woodbridge on May 13th. I will have everything in the show notes of who you need to contact to secure your seat. Welcome back to another episode of the Business of Beautiful Spaces. Thank you, Ronniesha, for joining me today. I'm very excited to talk about Vetted by Design. Can you start off with telling the listeners how you got into working with specifically interior designers and also the backstory and history of Vetted by Design?
Well, initially, the whole passion behind the platform came from my own experience from me being an interior designer. I work as an interior designer. I've been in that career for 6 years, 7 years, and I've had my business for about 4 years. And as it stands today, even, from the time I started my business to now, I would always need to hire out different things because it's just me running my business. Like a lot of designers, I feel like a lot of us are solo entrepreneurs. And so I would always go to like Facebook groups trying to find whatever I needed to hire out. Or I would go on Google trying to find, say I needed like to hire out, what I really needed to hire out was a bookkeeper at the time. And so I would just go look and just be sifting through Facebook groups and trying to find a good bookkeeper, going on Google, searching for a bookkeeper that would understand interior design. And fortunately, I did find a bookkeeper, but unfortunately, they did not understand interior design as like a business model. And it went south. And so they ended up filing some things incorrectly for my business. And it actually cost my company thousands of dollars. And I don't think that that's what people really understand, that hiring the wrong company or person as an interior designer can have such profound impact on your business, mentally, financially, everything. And that's where I really got the passion behind the idea. Is it's something that I think that we need in the industry, is just a one-stop centralized place to go where we can find people to hire for really anything. Instead of having to search high and low on the internet, you can just go to Vetted by Design and find a plethora of amazing pros that are ready to help you and that understand interior design.
So just like you, the first thing I ever outsourced was my accounting because the projects were getting bigger, the amounts were getting bigger, and I didn't want to muck up my taxes or something that would flag me to be in trouble with anything that had to do with a costly mistake, exactly what you're talking about. So now that you've done that, and that was your first outsourcing, can you tell me what other resources you would have at Vetted by Design that designers could use? Because of course, every designer is doing something different. It might not be accounting. Maybe they have someone in their world that can be the accountant for them. But what other services are under the umbrella of Vetted by Design?
Basically anything that you could think of, all the way from like the creative realm. So like 3D rendering artists, VDAs, and then all the way to the other end of the spectrum to help you with the accounting. We have lawyers, we have PR. So like really there's not a category or a topic that we don't have on the platform, and we're adding them every day. So I still have categories that I'm planning on adding in the future. So really anything that you think of that an interior designer would need help with.
And that's the thing. I get a lot of questions sent my way from the podcast about when should I hire? How should I hire? And that's a really hard question to answer because there are so many ways you can basically, we're buying back time. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to buy back time because there's only so many hours in a day that us as solopreneurs can make that happen. And so, I mean, I think this is such a great avenue for designers, decorators, anyone in our field, because if you aren't sure, if you're unsure, I mean, listen, the first time I ever hired a full-time employee, I was literally crapping my pants because, they were going to get paid before me. They were going to like, how am I going to afford this? Like, it's very nerve-wracking to bring somebody onto your team and you're responsible to get enough work into your office that they get paid every other week or every week, and you might not. But so this is a great avenue for anyone trying to test the waters to see how they can buy time back for themselves, because we all know our value. We all know what we bring to the table. We all know what our time is worth in our business. And if you're able to outsource 10 hours a week at a lesser rate than what you're charging, and you're making money doing those 10 hours somewhere else, but now you can trust someone to tackle your accounting or your social media or your contracts, or if it's like you said, your renderings or your drawings or any of the things an interior designer needs. And so they always say, where should you start? And so I think the first thing is, what do you hate to do? That is what do you not enjoy? Because if you do not enjoy something, my perspective is you're going to keep putting that item off and you're not going to want to do it. And there's going to be 12 things that are going to get done before that one thing. So I think for me, that's something I'm like, what don't you enjoy? Because if you don't enjoy it, See if someone else can do it for you.
Yeah.
If someone came to you, a designer's coming to you and they're saying, I need help, I don't even know where to start. What's your advice to that designer?
I feel like when you are thinking about when should you hire or when should you outsource, anytime. Like really anytime. I had been in business for I want to say less than a year when I was looking for somebody to take over the bookkeeping because it was the same. I was getting larger projects and I realized very quickly that I didn't want to mess it up and I was working in multiple states and so I didn't know anything about that and so that's when I was outsourcing the very first time. And I think that there's a common misconception that it's like a new designer, like the new or younger designer that's outsourcing. But it's honestly the designer who's been in business for 10 years. Maybe the designer who's been in business for 10 years and wants to start with a PR agency and getting their work in magazines. So it's really any time you can start outsourcing. I don't think there's any set time, but if you're coming into interior design as like a second or a third career, probably you'll be outsourcing a lot quicker just because there's so much. There's so much. And that's why it's great that we have VDAs, virtual design assistants, and that we have such a great network of professionals out there that we can lean on as designers when we need something.
So there isn't like there's not one category that you find is the most common that new clients, quote unquote, interior designers are leaning more towards through Vetted by Design.
I will say on the creative side, it's definitely 3D rendering artists. I feel like it's visual. What we do is very visual. And so I think designers want to hire that out pretty quickly. And it's worth its weight in gold. If you can show your client a beautiful rendering, I won't say always sell the job, but you're more likely to sell the job, that's for sure. And just
I fully agree with you.
Job. And then on the other end of it, I think that the most common is it's bookkeeping and accounting. You get into business and very much right away, once you start getting jobs, you have the same idea. You're like, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to get in trouble with taxes and I don't understand sales tax. And so those are the two most common.
And everywhere's so different. Like I'm Canadian. So like, what we do and what our taxes are in Ontario or in a certain area is going to be different than another province. So you really do need, and I'm sure that's the same in the United States, like you really need to have someone who's working in the proper area logistically for you and in your, in your industry. Because I will be very honest now that it's 7 years past, because we have like a thing here where you have to hang on to everything for 7 years. I didn't know I'm not joking, 15 years that I was doing something wrong accounting wise and could have got in a lot of trouble. And I had no idea. And I bet you 80% of designers in Canada are probably doing it right now and don't know that it's wrong. Because at the time I was retainer based, I no longer use retainers. But you can't treat retainers like a deposit. It's got to be in a different bank account. You have to have like the whole thing. I was like, oh my God, like honest mistake. It's not like, it wasn't like I was stealing from here to over to there. No, it's all going to end up in the same pot, but you have to treat things very differently. And it shouldn't have been taxed. And I was taxing. It doesn't get taxed until a certain time. So it all ended up the same in the end. But the reality is it was wrong. And I could have gotten into trouble even, you kind of go like, really? But yeah, you could have. And so these are the things that you want to know. And I would have, never have thought in a million years that this would have been something I'm always on the up and up on everything I do. I don't want to break any rules so it's one of those things where I would have sworn up and down I would have done everything right. And meanwhile, I wasn't. And so these are the things that are really important. And the same thing, if you don't have a lawyer that knows contracts or your process or, I know I preach this a lot on this podcast, but it's so important to protect yourself. And we are running a business and yes, we're creatives, but it won't matter if someone legally comes in, they're going to say, well, that's just not my brain. I'm more of a creative type. No, you have to protect yourself in so many ways. But I'm going to circle back to your renderings only because depending on somebody's, like I went to school over 27 years or 8 years ago. Renderings weren't a thing. AutoCAD was new. Do you know what else was new? Email.
Oh
The
my
World
goodness.
Wide Web was new. So I got my first email account at school and I was like, what am I going to do with this? Like, I'm not even joking. I was like, I am never going to, why would I come to a computer to get my mail? Like, honest to God, this is the world so I don't know how to do rendering. So it's one of the things that we also outsource here because we have a team and the girls are younger than I am. They're in their 20s that work here and they both know how to do renderings. But by the time I buy all the programs and all the seats, and by the time they start creating these renderings, the hours that it would take and the cost every month for those renderings when we're not producing renderings potentially every month is a cost that far outweighs outsourcing them. So that was one thing we don't do here. We outsource them. We know how much they cost. We bill it back to the client. It doesn't cost us any money. In fact, we make a little bit of money on each rendering, but it will sell your project every single time. So if someone is older, or it is, like you said, second or third, or maybe they're decorators and not a designer, because in Canada you have to go to school to be a designer, this is a really good facet to help your presentations. You're elevating your presentation. You're leveling up what you're able to do. The client doesn't need to know that it wasn't done in-house if you don't want to tell them, but it's a game changer for your business. And if you don't have the capacity to do it, don't let that hinder you. There are services like Vetted by Design who has vetted these individuals by other designers, and they're able to produce this for you. And I think that's such a great way to not exert or give away too much of your profits, but yet help your presentation. So those 2 points, I also, the ones that you gave, I'm always so curious, are the ones that I also did. So
Yep.
I wondered if there was, that common thread, which there was. So, okay. So then how would a designer effectively communicate their business style to you to be able to get the right fit and their expectations when using somebody in outsourcing? Like, is it something that you vet that part, or they now start dealing directly with the individuals and they figure out who's the right fit?
Well, I had to really think about how do designers operate. And of course, I only really know from my own business. And then, of course, I have design friends and we always talk. But I feel like things are always moving pretty quickly in a design business. Like, you have a project that comes out of nowhere. Somebody could pick up the phone and call you tomorrow for a project. And so I wanted designers to be able to get the resource that they need as quickly as possible. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, we're going to vet all of the professionals that are on the platform, and the designers can go view profiles, see reviews, and just do their own kind of vetting and seeing what it matches. And then you can just reach out directly to that pro. I thought about having designers create profiles themselves and then kind of create like a project and then send it over to the pro. I just want it to be as quick and simple for designers to get that information as possible. We just don't have the luxury of time sometimes. And so if a designer wants to hire for something, say you're a designer, and I use PR because that's where I'm kind of thinking about hiring right now. And if a designer is looking for a PR agency because they want to start getting, more out there and trying to get into published and things like that, they can just go on there, view all of the PR agencies, and if you find one that you're in alignment with, you can just reach directly out through the platform. You just hit Message Pro, and you can send a direct message, and it goes directly to that pro's inbox. And it's nice because it shows the pro that it's from Vetted by Design. So they know specifically that email is from the platform, and so they can obviously respond in a timely manner. So I just wanted it to be as streamlined as possible for designers.
And how are you getting that feedback then that they were, like, is it like a Google review? Like, how do you know that that actually is a great vetted by design,
Mm-hmm.
literally, pro? Like, how are you quantifying that?
We have a whole vetting process. So pros that want to be on the platform, they go on Vetted by Design, and there's like become a pro, and they can apply to become a pro. And based off their application, we review it, we either approve them to go to the next step, or we kindly ask them to resubmit in 6 months. And if they do go on to the next step, then they'll go to the board, and the board's going to review their portfolio. There are some categories that are not going to have a portfolio, like a lawyer, bookkeepers. They don't typically have portfolios. But if you're in a more creative field, we'll ask that you submit a portfolio for us to review. And that just showcases the pro's previous work, essentially. And then that gets reviewed by the board and they either get approved to go to the next step. If they go to the next step is a Zoom call, kind of like this with me, where I get to know you, I lay eyes on you, I want to talk about your business values. I really want to get to know you and your business. That call usually lasts anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. And depending on how that call goes, you either are approved to become a pro on the platform or we'll ask you to resubmit. But by the time you get through the creative board, it's pretty much like, we are so happy to have you on the platform. So there is like an actual vetting process that we follow.
So funny enough, I was originally thinking when we started talking about doing this podcast that it would just be for the designers and decorators that are servicing an end client, meaning their homes, renovations, things like that. But there are a lot of designers and decorators who actually service designers and decorators that also might be interested in this platform, that provide drawings for other designers. This could be something that anyone listening, you might want to reach out to Ronniesha if you are someone in that service-based business and look into Vetted by Design, because this could be for both listeners, actually.
Yeah,
Just
that's
dawned on me when you said that. Yeah.
A very important point. Not every pro on the platform is going to be niched in interior design. It's just a fact. There are some professions where that's just not going to be a thing. But my goal is to have the majority of the pros on the platform, either they were previously an interior designer, they only work with interior designers, or they have some vast knowledge of interior design. So that's my goal for all the, like across the board with all the categories, is that they have some like strong tie to interior design.
And as to interior designers, I mean, you probably share this too. It's really hard to give up control. It is really hard, especially when we all start as solopreneurs and you are tackling everything and you're wearing all the hats. You are the accountant. You are, you're the designer. You're the therapist, usually for somebody on the vendor or your client. You're literally doing everything in the business. And so then you like we talked about buying back some time, but it's hard to give up the control of your project or how you're willing to see the outcome. So I think that's also why the accounting is an easier thing to give up. And then second to that, it may be things that we can't actually do, like a rendering. So I guess where I'm going with that is, thinking this through with the control, because it would be really hard for us to give up things. Where else can you see that these virtual assistants, if you will, could really aid in the growth of an interior design business? Because I know if someone's listening I don't want to hand over my presentation to someone. I don't want to hand over my you want more time, but we're playing that like devil's advocate in our head where we want to grow and we want to, try something, but we're playing in our minds going, well, I don't know what I'm going to get back. So what other advantages is there? Yes, we're buying our time back. Yes, we're able to do, take things off our plate, but what other advantages would there be to starting to invest in some virtual assistants?
I would say one of them that I feel like is, actually I'm thinking of two. One of them, it's kind of nice to have another design set of eyes on your design. Obviously, if you are a solo designer, and even sometimes if you have a team, it's kind of nice to bounce ideas back. And so outsourcing to a virtual designer, obviously you're getting another creative who is looking at the project and maybe giving input, maybe not. I imagine it's very conversational. And so that's one thing, is just having another creative, bringing that creativity and that energy to the project. And then another one I would say is, it might sound scary, and I'm probably not the best. I'm comfortable outsourcing. I outsource in my personal life, So I encourage designers that are a little bit weary of outsourcing to really anybody but virtual designers, just knowing that like they are there to help you. They are there to make your work glow. They are there to notice if there's any inaccuracies. It's not just like you're sending your project to them they're working on it. And so there's so much more like energy and conversation that goes back and forth. Envision them just like being a junior designer on your team in office. It's the same idea, but they're just on Zoom or on, Google Meet. It's the same idea. So it might sound scary, but it really is necessary also in this day and age that I feel like I said, more designers are coming to the profession as a second or third career. So I feel like it's going to become more and more kind of a way of life to outsource in your company.
And is there a specific, could you just Google Meets or Teams, is there any tools or a specific technology that you recommend for designers in order to manage this relationship with their virtual assistant?
I would just keep it very simple. So Zoom works great. Google Meet is like my personal favorite just because it's synced with my Google Calendar and I live by my calendar. So it's just easy to like go through there. Notion is great. They have a free version of that where you can invite people and have not like project management, just for the conversational part of it. But there's honestly...
What's Notion? Tell me more about that. What is that Notion?
Notion, think of it as like, what's the best way that I can explain Notion? It's kind of like, it's really anything. Like if you just want to have notes in there and just have like a bunch of notes, you can have multiple people have access to the notes.
Okay.
It's really just like a tracking productivity.
Okay. Like in Asana, Mondays, those Trello, that kind of, okay. Got it. Yeah. Okay, sorry to interrupt, but I just like before you keep going, there might be someone else my age who doesn't know what Notion is.
I love Notion. But yeah, it's just like your other productivity note kind of like organizational apps. I love that one. I use that all the time. And I use it honestly for like personal tracking, like appointments and little things like that. But yeah, honestly, I use my Google Calendar for like organizing things and keeping track of like the people I'm outsourcing to. I invite them to my Google Calendar. They can see my calendar, my meetings, my things like that. So I think that's a great resource as well.
So I want to talk about, the goal of this is always about profitability with the business of beautiful spaces. It's how do we become more profitable? How are we creating equity in our businesses and creating these, this career of our dreams and getting paid properly for it. So how can a designer or decorator leverage a virtual assistant or a VA? And I don't mean VA like literally an assistant. I mean some under all the categories. So whether that's rendering or whatever, I'm just using a broader term. How can they, I guess, see this as a way to increase profitability other than time? Like, I don't know what the average rate going for a rendering is where you are. What is something that they can use this for as well to help their profitability?
I think of it kind of like I do a lot of construction projects, not where I'm acting as the GC or anything like that. But there have been times where I hire somebody to do something and it's under my company's umbrella. And I think of it just like a subcontractor. That's really what, when you're outsourcing to VAs, VDAs, they really are just like a subcontractor in your business, if you will. And so just like how you would with a sub, whatever their price is, you mark it up and you make the difference, obviously. But with like a VDA, it's not the same as a sub in a sense of like, with subs, I feel like if they do something wrong, I have to like foot the bill in some cases. But with the VDA, there's really not that element to it. So you really should be making a little bit of money on whatever services you're outsourcing in your business. So you can be profitable on it. A lot of designers think of a VDA or a VA as like, oh gosh, now I'm getting this bill for the renderings. It's hundreds of dollars. Like, it feels like it's just another bill in your business. But I challenge designers to kind of change that mindset that it's not just another bill in your business. There's actually opportunity to make a little bit of money on those services, just depending on how you structure your firm. So there is opportunity. And of course, if your strong suit's not renderings and you're outsourcing, trust me, you're bringing so much value to your client experience by offering renderings or offering whatever other services you're getting from your VDA. It's worth its weight in gold. You're going to come off to your client as more organized, more polished, more knowledgeable. And when somebody's hiring you and spending like a good amount of money with you, they want to feel like they're getting their money's worth. They want to feel like the process is organized. They want to feel like they're getting that elevated experience. And you outsourcing to a VDA is definitely going to help you with your client experience.
Well, and just circling back to the renderings again one more time, if they could visualize, they wouldn't need you. Like, we can see it in our heads. We don't need the rendering. It's not for us. It's not for the pretty things. It's for them. It is for them to be able to see what we have envisioned. I have always had renderings up on, we have a TV screen in front of our presentation area. And when clients walk in, I always have our hero image of our favorite rendering point of view of, whatever space is going to be the, the big woo one. And I have never had a client come in and know that it's their house. Not once. And when you say, how do you like the first shot? They are always floored. So if you can wow your client from go, like to your point earlier, 99%, basically 100% are going to take it, wrap it up in a bow and say it's done. It's the rooms you don't do the renderings in where you'll find that now all of a sudden you have the most changes because they cannot visualize it. If they can see it and they fall in love with it, they want to make very minute changes, which means anything you've put into your contract and time-wise for revisions is now profit. So food for thought, anyone listening. So there are multiple ways that this could come back with even greater ROI. So can't guarantee that, of course, but it's definitely something that I've noticed in my experience that those renderings have been a game changer for us and that it's decreased our amount of revisions, which then ROI is right there. And to your point, nothing leaves our office that isn't marked up because you're still got to push the paper around and do the bill and chase the thing and do. So it has to have markup on it. Even if it's minor, it needs to have something. So even if you're making 20% on those renderings, it's still money. Now, the other thing to remember is those renderings just don't come magically. You had spent time talking and making the plans with the VA assistant who's going to help you with those renderings. You've had to put probably a package together with links. Like there's still more time here. So it's not just it passes off and it's gone, but it definitely can come back in some advantage ways by profit. So, okay, super. So then the next thing I have is what is the process? What is the process that a designer or decorator goes through to find the ideal vetted by design VA assistant?
It's, like I said, very easy process. You can go on Vetted by Design. We have a category for VAs, VDAs, and I think it's a little bit important to kind of distinguish the two. And I don't know if it's just me that thinks there's a difference between a VA and a VDA. Obviously, a virtual design assistant likely is somebody who knows interior design and they probably went to school for it or have been doing it for years. Very design oriented. But then there might be times where you want to hire like a virtual assistant to do really anything other like outside of design. Like for me, there's been times where I need to like batch write things and email them out. And those are kind of like more tasks that don't need to be for a specific designer. Anybody could do it that is just a virtual assistant. So I do think that there's a little bit of a difference between the two, but the process is really easy. You go on the website, you go to the category VDA, VA, and you'll find 15 to 20 VAs, VDAs. All of them have a profile. All of them have been vetted. And you can just click on ones, kind of figure out which one you're most attracted to. We do include like a carousel image so you can see some of their work. Their websites are linked, so you can check out their website. And it's really easy. You click message them and you send the message to them, explaining your project, explaining whatever it is that you want help with. And it goes directly to their email box. They don't have to sign into the platform or anything. It goes directly to whatever email they provide to us. And that's kind of the starting point to moving forward. So it's really easy. Yeah, it doesn't require a lot on the designer's part. It's more heavy on the pro and the vetting part.
So back at the beginning of this conversation, you had mentioned, like, let's say something drops on your plate tomorrow and you decide to take it on and then realize, oh, geez, this is going to take me way more time than I thought. And so now we've gone to Vetted by Design. We've found a few pros. What is the turnaround time? Meaning not turnaround time, project back in your inbox. What should a designer or decorator allow time-wise to be able to, find the right fit and get return emails? It's great that someone called you and now you're in panic mode, but should they allot a week or two? Of course, that is not the ideal time to be reaching out, but using it as, the pressure cooker, or someone's realized that they're over their head with something. Is it a week? Is it 2 weeks? What would you recommend is this would be instead of making a rush decision, you're able to do the process properly. You're able to vet this person that you feel comfortable and not under the worst pressure you're probably feeling. Because that's when, of course, most people are going to reach out because we're like, I need to do something, or I'm going on vacation, or whatever it is. What would you recommend is an ideal amount of time to allot to finding the right fit for whatever, VDA you're looking for?
So if you're looking for a VDA and you reach out to 2 or 3, they're like, okay, I feel like I'm interested in this 2 or 3. You will receive an email back from that pro within 24 hours, probably less. That's kind of part of our vetting process, is making sure that the pro understands that when you're setting, like when you are approved to be on the platform, that you are prioritizing the designers that are reaching out to you. So there's kind of a little bit of a balance there. But yeah, 24 hours, you'll get an email back from the pro. Like I said, it goes into the pro's email box and they can see that it's from Vetted by Design. So they know to prioritize that designer and get back to them as quickly as possible.
Okay, great. So anyone listening who thinks they might be ready to hand over some of their workflow over to Vetted by Design, where can people find you? Where can listeners reach out? Can you give us all the ways that they can find you and your services?
The platform is www.vetted-bydesign.com. So you can go on there and there's a bunch of categories. We're adding categories all the time. And if anybody has a category that they don't see that they would like to see, send us an email, let us know. And then our Instagram is Vetted by Design. So very, very easy.
Super. Well, thank you for sharing all of this with us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so much fun chatting.